everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to Super Breakfast Face Man.
That's not what we're called anymore.
We aren't called anything anymore, according to Twitter.com. I mean,
Oh,
X.com.
yeah. I forgot we have beef with Twitter.
Yeah, we are no longer... we're on Twitter, but you won't find us if you search for us, because we are apparently sensitive content.
We're too raunchy. We're too wild.
Do you think it's because we did Corpse Party?
I guess.
Twitter didn't like us putting the word corpse in our tweets, so now we're hidden.
What, was it just today that it happened?
It was today that I noticed.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, because we cannot confirm or deny if it was because of Corpse Party or if it was because of all of the bad art I've flooded the internet with.
But for whatever reason, the Super Breakfast Friends Club Twitter can now not be found if you have the settings set to hide sensitive content. So I don't know what we did, but I think it's just more reasons for everyone to simply abandon X.com.
Yeah, get off that sinking ship. The rats are already gone.
I'm already mostly on Blue Sky anyway, which is way better. Anyway, I'm not getting paid to advertise Blue Sky. But what I am getting paid for is to play the theme song.
Do it!
Blue streak speeds by, Sonic the Hedgehog, too fast for the naked eye. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic, he's the fastest thing alive. Look out when he storms through. Sonic the Hedgehog, don't doubt what he can do. Sonic the Hedgehog, Sonic, he can really move. Sonic, he's got an attitude. Sonic, he's the fastest thing alive. He's the fastest thing alive. He's the fastest thing alive.
Can you guess?
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Well, you gave it away. I was
I
gonna
did
ask
it.
people to guess what the show was.
Because the theme song was real subtle about it.
What do you think of this theme song?
It's not great, but it's good in a way that it gets stuck in your head and you hate it.
I like it. I don't know where I would rank it on Sonic the Hedgehog theme songs, but it's pretty good.
It's fine. It's a very 90s theme song.
Apparently, this isn't the version that it aired with originally.
There's a different one?
Yeah, but it's the same song, but it just was sung by someone else.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, I think from what I was reading, it sounded like the composer sang it when it first aired, and then it was later replaced with a version sung by an actual band.
Oh, like Darth Vader getting dubbed by James Earl Jones.
I guess. Or like Emperor Palpatine getting replaced by someone for the DVD.
Emperor Palpatoad.
My favorite Pokemon. Empoleon Palpatoad.
No, that's too many.
Anyway, we're looking at Sonic the Hedgehog, the 1993 show simply called Sonic the Hedgehog.
There's too many Sonics. I've said it before and I'll say it again.
This one, I've kind of been putting off looking at this show for a long time because this is, I want to say this is, at least among people my age, this is the most fondly remembered of all the Sonic shows.
Wild.
And I don't like it very much.
Yeah, I wasn't super into what I saw so far.
Yeah, I get why people love it, I guess. I loved it when it first aired. So here's the story, right? This first aired in the UK way back in 93, 94, something like that. We didn't get it until quite a long time after the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. And then this was a weird different one that came out. And we all liked it. But then it went away. And whenever they did reruns of Sonic the Hedgehog here, it was always Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. All of our VHS releases were Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. you could not get this show in the UK.
So it like became lost media essentially.
It became the stuff of legend. And I spent years trying to watch it again. I remember, I think it was Sonic HQ. One of the old Sonic fan sites had every episode of this in real media format. And I spent days on my dial-up internet connection downloading the first episode.
Oh my god. Was it even worth it?
And then once it was done downloading, I tried to play it and it just went and then stopped.
That's all you managed to download in 3 days.
Yeah, well, it said it completed the whole file, but I guess it was just corrupted or something. And I tried it several times and it just never worked.
You tried downloading it again?
Yeah, I kept trying. And the same thing happened every time. Sometimes I'd get maybe a second more of footage, sometimes a second less. Eventually, they released the whole show on DVD, and I was so excited, and I bought the DVDs and I watched them, and I didn't like it anymore.
You tried so hard and got so far. And in the end, it was a really stupid show.
Maybe it was a lot of that build-up.
Yeah.
Like when I finally saw it, I was like, oh, this was the show that I wanted to see again?
I tied up the phone line for a week straight, and this is all I get.
So anyway,
Sonic the Hedgehog is a show.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
How did this show come to be, and why did this show come to be?
So we talked before when we did Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. We covered some of this, but I'll talk about it again anyway. This show, basically the CEO of Sega America at the time approached DiC and asked them to produce a Sonic show. And they started putting one together as part of a deal with ABC to air it. But what they had recently done, DiC had done the Real Ghostbusters show, which is just the Ghostbusters show, but they called it Real Ghostbusters because there was a previous cartoon that was already called Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
For the second season of Real Ghostbusters, they had produced 13 episodes for ABC to air, and alongside that, they produced an extra 65 episodes to be aired on weekdays in syndication. But it was all one show. It was basically, it was two separate seasons that were running at the same time. But
Right.
one of those seasons was airing on Saturdays and the other was airing every weekday.
Weird, but okay.
They got a ton of money for it.
Uh-huh.
So they wanted to do that again with Sonic, but the senior vice president of business affairs, whose name was Mark Pedowitz, apparently said, and this is a quote, "If you guys want to do syndication, be our guest, go with God, but you won't be on our network."
What? How weirdly ominous.
Yeah, really, really strange thing to say. But anyway, they came up with a compromise with ABC that DiC could do Sonic episodes for syndication if they made it a distinct and separate show, which is what led to the creation of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. So originally this show was going to be a little bit sillier, a little bit funnier,
Okay.
but they made this show darker and more serious to contrast against the more Looney Tunes-esque weekday show.
I want the Looney Tunes, though.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I think I would like this show more if it was. There is concept art out there. When I was a kid, before this show started airing, the UK's Sonic comic, which was just called Sonic the Comic, had kind of a preview of the show that was going to start airing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was all concept art for this unfinished version that must have been before the ABC deal. And it's this premise where Sonic and his friends are freedom fighters against Robotnik, but it's like sillier and goofier.
Yeah.
And the art is like has so much more life to it and color to it. And I wish we got that show.
But we got Sonic Underground eventually. The best Sonic.
So this show first aired.
How dare you?
Sorry. This show first aired on September 18th, 1993 on ABC. about 2 weeks after the debut of Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. So although this show was technically in development first, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog ended up airing first. This show had 2 seasons, 26 episodes in total, and it's generally known by fans as SatAM because it was the Saturday morning show. I think that's stupid and I refuse to call it that.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with Sonic or Hedgehog.
No, it's called Sonic the Hedgehog.
There's a lot of things that played on Saturday morning.
Yeah, but we don't call them all SatAM.
SatAM. Hail SatAM.
So as... Fuck off.
Fine, you're not invited to my ritual circle on Saturday morning where we eat breakfast cereal in a pentagram.
Oh, ugh. Fine, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll let you light the votive candle.
So I already mentioned this show's made by Deke, who we've talked about many times.
They show up a lot.
Yeah, they made Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, they made the Super Mario Brothers Super Show, they made Captain N, The Legend of Zelda.
Remember Captain N?
Oh yeah, we'll get back to Captain N soon, I'm sure. This show was already in production before Tails showed up, but I guess Sega provided details of the upcoming character so they could tie him into it.
I was wondering about that. Why they had Sally Acorn be the Brain Man instead of Tails.
It definitely has the feeling that Tails was put in later, right? Because he doesn't appear in this episode outside of the opening sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And even in the opening sequence, he is only on a shot that scrolls by. I think. I think the only time you see Tails in the opening is the final shot, when it just pans across all the freedom fighters and he just happens to be one of them.
They penciled him in at the end.
Yeah, so I feel like they did add Tails quite late on, but I don't know that. He's definitely not super important in the first season, at least.
He's important in my heart.
I know, I love Tails. Anyway, this episode is called Sonic Boom.
They did it!
They did it right off the bat.
And then they did it again and again and again.
It was written by Len Jansen, who I think the largest body of work he had was writing for the 60s Sabrina the Teenage Witch cartoon.
Okay.
He also wrote a bunch for the Smurfs, for Real Ghostbusters, and came back to write for Sonic Underground. The episode aired September 25th, 1993. It was the intended first episode, but it wasn't the first episode produced, and it wasn't the first episode that aired.
What?
Yeah.
I could take a guess as to why, though, because this episode is super boring and it expects us to know all these things that no one cares about.
Well, this was the first one they aired when it came to the UK, because I remember this one airing. You know, of all the Sonic shows that they've made, this is the only one that has a logo that looks nothing like the actual series logo. Did you notice it?
I did not.
It has nothing in common with the actual Sonic the Hedgehog logo.
It doesn't even have Sonic the Hedgehog himself.
Well, it wouldn't.
Oh. All of the Sonic logos I can think of have Sonic the Hedgehog popping out of a Sonic the Hedgehog and giving me a thumbs up.
Yeah, this is the classic Sonic logo that they've had since 91.
Oh yeah, that.
There you
I'm
go.
just thinking of the menu screen Sonic.
Yeah, I know. Even then, like when it comes to the title screens, it's usually the logo's in an emblem, right?
Mm-hmm.
The logo's usually written on a ribbon in front of some kind of ring that Sonic pops out of.
Yeah.
I don't know, what does this logo scream to me? It's like, it looks like a car logo or something.
Yeah.
Like an old car logo.
Or like a G.I. Joe cartoon.
Yeah. It's just strange, because it's not like the Sonic logo wasn't already established. They've had it since Sonic 1.
But this is different than that goofy Sonic. This is edgy, cool Sonic.
And like every other Sonic show that's been made uses it. Like if I bring up here, look, here's the logo for Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's literally just that logo from the game, but they've stuck Adventures of at the beginning. So I don't know. I don't know why this show has such a strange and different logo.
It's gotta be different. It's gotta be grimdark.
It feels like Sega shouldn't have allowed it.
Listen, if there's anything we've learned from doing this show, it's that cartoons based on video games were wild and out, and you could just do whatever you wanted.
True, and this is a very strong example of that, in fact.
Exactly.
So we open with, it's like a first-person view showing some data displayed on a screen.
Oh, yeah.
And then there's a bunch of sweeping shots of Robotropolis.
And robots themselves.
I was thinking, as I was watching this, I was thinking, this could have been really cool if they just drew it out a little bit longer, because they really rush through this part.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't really give you the chance to take in any of what we're looking at.
No. The world building in this cartoon is so weird because they try to give it to you organically, but they do it by throwing you in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah.
They don't spend any time dwelling on any of the details, and nothing matters or is interesting.
Yeah, it's funny because people talk about this show a lot for having really good world building. Like, people love the world of this show. I don't understand why. I think it's kind of bad. But I think a lot of it, is more about what people imagine about this world rather than what is actually there.
Right.
Because we're not really told anything about how any of this works. And when you're a kid, that doesn't matter because you don't mind.
Care.
Yeah. But like, what is Robotnik trying to do, if anything?
How has he come into power like this?
Well, that is covered. There is a flashback episode.
Okay.
A 2-part flashback episode. I think it's in season 2 though. So even then, like, it's not until season 2 that you actually find out how this all happened.
They actually remembered to write that part in.
Yeah. Because season 1 is very episodic. It's very like, you don't really need to know from one episode to the next what's happening. Season 2 gets a lot more into it. I think season 2, they had a new head writer and he really tried to make it more cohesive.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say there are some episodes of season 2 that I really like.
Yeah, I think this show would benefit from something like that because episodic doesn't really rope you into the world.
No, I agree. Yeah, I remember the 2-part time travel episode is really good. And I remember really liking the series finale, which was not supposed to be as a series finale, so it ends on a cliffhanger. But,
oh no.
But it is very good.
What happens to our boy Sonic?
Oh, we'll see. We'll find out eventually. But anyway, so we see a robot. This part tickled me for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
We see a robot get delivered to a door on a high tower by this floating platform that carries it all the way up there. And then once it's inside, it just rides an elevator down to the bottom.
I done what I came here to do and I'm going back.
It seems so redundant.
It just shows up to be an intimidating presence.
Basically, yeah. The robot reports to a different robot in a funny robot voice.
All secure.
And then we see Sonic, Antoine, and Kat running through a vent together.
My brain thought you were going to say Sonic and Twonic.
Yeah.
Oh boy, this is going to be a fun one.
And then that robot that we saw riding elevators around comes up to the vent, scares them all, and it turns out that it's Sally inside a robot.
This whole sequence takes like 5 minutes.
Chill, swiper.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, it's funny because the exterior shots, I think, should have gone on longer. And then the scenes with the robots inside the buildings should have been much, much shorter. Or maybe
For
not
sure.
at all.
Like, it doesn't build any tension. We're supposed to be nervous that they're about to get caught, but I'm just like, come on and do something.
Yeah. So actors. We've talked about almost every actor in this show already.
Yeah, I recognized most of those voices.
Sonic is played by Jaleel White again.
Stefan Urkel himself.
Yep. He played Sonic both in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog and Sonic Underground. And, you know, he's good. I like his Sonic.
I like the voice. I don't like how he's written.
Yeah. He is given a lot of what were clearly supposed to be cool sounding catchphrases, but are not.
Yeah, it just really clashes with the cast of characters and makes Sonic an annoying, weird person to be around.
It has such a distinct 40-year-old trying to relate to the kids vibe in his dialogue. You know what I mean?
I do.
I wish they had just let Jaleel write his own dialogue, because he was probably young enough to have known what he should have been saying.
Yeah, he was still cool. He still is cool.
He is still cool. Hey, we got Sally Acorn here, or Princess Sally Acorn, I should probably say.
Do they tell us flat out? They do tell us flat out that she's the princess, don't they? Or do they take a while?
I think they take a while, but I think Antoine constantly refers to her as princess, so...
I think the first time he referred to her as princess, I thought it was not literal.
You thought it was just sexism?
Yeah. Like, he's just a simp.
I mean, that's also true.
It is, but it took me a while to piece together that the father that she's looking for would then be the king.
Yes. Yeah, it sure doesn't... It doesn't explain it very well in this episode, but you do pick it up over the course of the series. I think they're trying to build intrigue here to make you want to watch more and find out what happened to her dad and everything.
I see what they're getting at, but it's not a great episode.
Though I also think everything that we learn about her dad here is contradicted by later episodes.
Cool.
But we'll get to that. Sally Acorn is interesting because back when Sonic 1 first came out, you know that there's all the little animal friends, right? That pop out of the robots.
Yes.
Sega of America renamed all of them except Flicky. And I think the only reason Flicky was left untouched is because Flicky already had its own game.
Yeah, he's a star.
Yeah. But all the others got renamed. And the squirrel, who I believe is Rocky in the Japanese games, and is Rocky in English now since they've all reverted to the Japanese names, they initially changed the squirrel's name to Sally Acorn.
Okay.
So this Princess Sally, I guess, is an attempted adaptation of the squirrel that pops out of the robots.
Okay.
Now, none of the other freedom fighters in any way resemble those animals.
No, where's the pig?
Well, here's the thing. You know, I mentioned before about how there was that concept art that showed up in the comics?
Uh-huh.
All of the animals were there in that, including Flicky.
Interesting.
And that's one of the reasons that I wish that's the version we got.
Yeah.
Because it had all of them. It had the pig, it had the rabbit, it had Flicky, it had the penguin and the walrus. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, I found it. Some of them are barely recognizable. Oh, this is actually the scan from the comic I had, actually. I recognize it.
I can see. Oh, not crazy about the Princess Acorn design, but she's there.
Yeah.
Johnny Lightfoot is cool as hell.
Yeah, that design for Johnny Lightfoot kind of survived into the British comic as well. He kept that red leather jacket.
I love that Flicky is like part mad scientist and part chef.
Yeah. I was thinking chef, but yeah, it is definitely a mad science vibe there as well. Look at Joe Sushi.
I know.
But yeah, I personally wish this was the Freedom Fighter team we got in this show.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been way more into these guys.
Yeah.
Way
they
more
all look like
interesting.
they're actually capable of fighting for freedom.
Yeah, there's no Antoine in this bunch.
Ugh, Antoine.
There's an episode later on called Fed Up with Antoine, and it's exactly how I feel about this show.
Why didn't we start with that episode?
Well, we'll probably watch it. Anyway, so Sally Acorn is played by Kath Soucie, who we've talked about before because she played Princess What's-Her-Name in Earthworm Jim.
Yeah, she's everywhere. She was in the 90s.
She is very typecast as the sexy girl character in cartoons.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when that sexy girl is furry.
Weird, but
Well, she
get
was
that
Lola
money,
Bunny.
girl. Yeah?
Lola Bunny is what I always think of when I think of Kath Soucie, so...
It's what you always think of when you think of sexy furry ladies.
I mean, she does have a hot voice.
Yeah. I mean, they've picked the role to suit her well enough.
I don't like Sally. Sally, like, when it comes to attractive furry girls, Sally is, like, one of the least attractive to me. And it's because her head is so weird.
Yeah.
And so disproportionate.
This is the part of the show where we rank furry women on how attractive they are.
For me, Lola Bunny is, like, probably the peak. But I don't know. All I can think about right now is Lola Bunny.
I think it's because Sally's body is so scrawny that it makes her head look like it's just about to pop off.
Yeah. It's so weird because all of the animal characters in this don't look like they fit in to the same universe as Sonic the Hedgehog.
Right.
And I think they've made Sally's head so big to try and make her fit in with Sonic, but the body is still so disproportionate to his that it just still doesn't work. Because they've tried to give her a human-proportioned, sexy body.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonic's body is a ball with noodles sticking off of it.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't work.
They're just from different worlds. They'll never be together. Sonic is dating a cat girl.
And we have Antoine here.
Ugh.
Antoine is played by Rob Paulsen, an actor I really like.
I know.
Who we've only talked about in the context of characters I hate.
Yeah, he gets a rough lot.
I was racking my brain trying to think about when it was that we last talked about Rob Paulsen, because I knew we had, and I actually had to like go back through our archive and try and figure out when it was, because it was an Earthworm Jim, which is when we talked about most of these guys. Because this is a high-budget voice cast.
Yeah.
These are like big-name Hollywood voice actors, in contrast to Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which used more low-budget Canadian voice actors. And that's not to say they're bad, because, you know, we had Gary Chalk in that bunch. Long John Baldry as Robotnik is my favorite Robotnik voice ever in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog.
You never stop talking about him.
I know, he's great. He's got such a musical voice.
It's very good.
So, I just want to make it clear, I'm not saying that those were bad voice actors.
They just don't rake in the big bucks.
Yeah.
Was he in Bubsy?
He was Bubsy.
I knew it!
Yeah, Rob Paulsen was the voice of Bubsy. And, again, like, he's a great actor. He's Yakko Warner. He's Pinky from Pinky and the Brain. He's played both Raphael and Donatello.
They just keep sticking him in these doo-doo roles.
Yeah, now he's here as Antoine, a character I exclusively want to punch. And then we've got Kat, who is the only character voiced by someone we haven't talked about before. He is played by William Wyndon, who also goes on to play Sonic's Uncle Chuck later in this series.
Uncle Chuck?
Uncle Chuck. We'll get to
Chuck
Uncle
the
Chuck.
Hedgehog.
We'll get there another day.
Okay.
But not today. William Wyndon I knew best as Dr. Seth Hazlitt in Murder, She Wrote. He is one of Jessica Fletcher's best friends, and he shows up pretty solidly. He shows up in, I think, about half of all the episodes.
I love that for him.
He started out as a theater actor in the 40s, so most of his stuff was live action. I actually couldn't find any other animation in his IMDb other
How
than
did they
Sonic.
trick him into this?
I don't know. Maybe he just really wanted to do a cut. You think he was just a big Sonic fan?
That's canon now.
He probably has done other animation, but like his IMDb is so huge. I was scrolling through it for ages and I didn't spot any other cartoons. So Antoine and Kat stay behind as lookouts while Sonic and Sally go ahead. I really hate Antoine, but I don't care much for Sally either, honestly.
Yeah.
I've always just found her quite boring.
Yeah, it's that problem where they give us a tough female character who is kind of flawless and therefore boring.
That's what it is. They didn't give her any flaws.
Yeah.
Because Sonic has a lot of female characters that I love. And with all of them, they're flawed, and that's why I love them.
That's what makes an interesting character.
Amy has her short temper. Rouge has her kleptomania. Wave is just a bitch. And they're all great, and I love every single one of them. But yeah, when you give us this like capable, no nonsense, serious, down to earth character with no problems, I'm like, all right. Her biggest problem is that she's with Antoine the whole episode.
Yeah, like she's smart, she's capable, she's boring.
Yeah, what she's doing here, like they take her into I guess one of the machines and she starts hacking it. It's basically what Tails would have been doing if this were a modern Sonic show.
Yeah, that's what clued me in, that Tails is suspiciously absent.
Oh, the fact that she was doing Tails stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, in these early shows, they tended to not really, with the comics as well, they didn't really have any of Tails' genius stuff in the American things. It was there in the Japanese stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it in the OVA, and it was there in the game as well, because, towards the end of the game, the tornado gets shot down and Tails fixes it, so...
Do we see him fix it, or does it just come back and...
Well, it just comes back, but that's the plot reason it comes back, is because Tails
I
fixed
know
it.
that now, but it's never really made explicitly clear in the game.
No, nothing is. Because
True.
there's no text in the game.
So we don't know that Tails is smart.
But Tails gets shot down in the tornado, and then when he reappears in it later, he's attached a jet rocket to the bottom of it.
But we don't know that he did that.
We don't, but he was also flying the plane.
That's different.
He's an 8-year-old boy flying a plane.
Tails knows how to fly with his butt. That's the same as flying a plane.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff comes down to us missing out on manual materials that Japan got. Because in the Japanese manual, it straight up tells us that Tails loves planes and that he knows how to fix planes and fly planes. Like, one of the reasons that Sonic and Tails become friends is because Tails sees the tornado, which is Sonic's plane, and just, falls in love with it. But yeah, at this point, the only Sonic media from this period that I can think of that actually included Tails' mechanical genius was Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, funnily enough.
The best Sonic.
Because there's a whole episode where I think it's Sonic's birthday and Tails doesn't have a gift for him, so he builds him this flying bicycle, and then they realize that Tails is a genius, and this scientist takes him under his wing.
Tails, all you had to do was, macaroni art. Like a hand turkey.
It's never a huge deal, but it sticks around in that show. There's a later episode where Tails reconfigures Scratch and Grounder into a spaceship because he's a genius.
I want to play a Sonic game where the final level takes place in a giant death egg, but it's shaped like a combination of Scratch and Grounder.
Yeah.
And then the whole time they heckle us.
There's a part I didn't really get where I think Sally says, do you mind to Sonic or something? And then Sonic says,
Dogs mind, not hedgehogs.
Yeah, I don't know.
Did you understand that?
I did not.
I think it was just some anti-dog racism.
What did dogs ever do to you, Sonic?
I did think that when she asks him to have some patience, he says,
Hey, patients are for hospitals.
I was like, all right, that's probably the cleverest line that he has in this whole episode.
Not that it's good, but you can see that they tried something.
Yeah, they heard a good line in a different show and put it in this one. That's what I think happened. Anyway, the robots are coming, so Sonic's trying to hurry Sally up. But she gets a message somehow through the computer, and she thinks it's from her father because it says bean.
That's the only word that comes through. It's just bean.
And I was confused why her father would be sending her a message through one of Robotnik's robots.
Yeah, how would he know that she's in the enemy base? How would he know that she is at that exact moment trying to hack into a robot? It's very strange.
It was strange. I don't know if it was supposed to be that the message came through at that moment or if that she just found an old message sitting there. I don't know. But anyway, it makes her believe that her father is in a place called the Dark Swamp. And then Antoine falls out of the vent and gets caught because he's a shit turd.
I prefer the term turd shit.
Why is he French?
I was thinking that the entire time. I was like, you've gone through the trouble of writing an entirely new universe. Why are there still French people?
Yeah. Like, what are we implying here? Does Mobius have its own France?
I think so.
I always found it strange. The world of Mobius that this show creates feels extremely small because everything seems to center around this one city, which seems to be the only place that Robotnik directly controls.
Mm-hmm.
But there's like no other safe place in the world. There's no safe place except for this one forest that they live in where Robotnik can't find them and he never thinks to just burn it down.
It's like Mesmeron in the Power Pill Forest.
Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
Even though Mesmeron towers over the entire pack world, he still can't find that dang forest.
Yeah. I remember when I rewatched it, that was bugging me the whole time. I was like, why can he not find this secret forest town? He has bombers that can fly over it and look down. And even then, like, isn't he just trying to destroy the forest anyway? Just destroy the forest.
Right. Oh, it's weird.
It's been like 10 years since he took over, and he's been constantly stymied by this small group of teenagers that he can never catch because they keep running into the woods. That's basically the plot of this whole show.
Which is wild, because in Sonic 3, Angel Island is just on fire.
I love how Sonic, as soon as like Antoine falls out the vent, Sonic's like, oh, he did it again.
Antoine.
Like, why do they bring him? If he does this all the time.
He's terrified to be there. He can't do anything right. He doesn't have any skills that get them through anything.
Nope. All he does is get them caught. Apparently not for the first time. So Sonic has to cause a distraction so the others can escape. And I will say, I liked this. Like, Sonic is cool. He's being cool here. I really like the backflip he does into the vent. So I like that. That's cool.
Okay.
Sonic
I
should
didn't have
be
any
cool.
strong feelings about it.
So as the other three are escaping, Cat notices they're being followed. So he stops back and then he draws the robot in the wrong direction without telling anybody.
Yeah, nobody even notices until they're miles away.
I was thinking about that because it's not clear whether they hadn't noticed or not. Like, maybe they noticed along the way. Because all they say to Sonic when he asks where Cat is they say he was right behind them and they got separated somehow.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if that's the moment that they realized that they got separated, but I like to think it was.
We've got another Baby Kong situation on our hands.
Yeah.
Get all the way home, and then you realize that Donkey Kong has been missing for half an hour.
Like they didn't notice he was gone until Sonic asked about him. Sonic was the only person in this group who cared about Cat. It does feel that way later on, actually, because Sonic's the only one who shows any interest in saving him.
That's true. Like, Sally and Antoine are so dismissive. They're like, whatever, just let him rot in the jail cell.
Yeah.
I guess because Sally's so entrenched in trying to find her father, and Antoine's just a coward and a simp.
But even afterwards, when they get back, like, Sonic's the only one who wants to go back for Cat at the end of the episode.
Poor Cat.
No. Well, at least Sonic liked him.
That's true.
Sally and Antoine are heading to the Dark Swamp while Sonic goes back for Cat. They have a really long, drawn-out right or wrong joke, which I didn't like.
You're kidding, right?
I'm kidding. Wrong.
Wrong?
Right.
Right or wrong?
You're wrong. I'm right. As usual.
Yeah, I, at this point, was distracted by the fact that when she first learns that her father is potentially in the Dark Swamp, she reacts as though this is some horrible, well-known place. And again, when they get there and they scan for buildings, because nobody knows what's even in the Dark Swamp, and it's only then that they discover that there's this prison. And then nobody even knows anything about the prison. She asks her little Alexa, and it doesn't know.
Yeah. And that, by the way, Nicole, Sally's little computer thing, is also played by Kath Soucie.
Okay.
Just so we're, up to date.
We covered our bases.
Yeah. This is where we're introduced to Robotnik and Snively.
Snively.
Yeah. Up until Sonic Colors, every single Sonic media always had to introduce their own Robotnik sidekick character.
Right.
We had Scratch and Grounder, who were my personal favorites of the pre-Colors era ones. We had Sleet and Dingo, my personal least favorites. We had in the British comic we had Grimer. He was pretty cool. Not the Pokemon.
I was gonna say, did he ever evolve into Muck?
He did not. And now, here we have Snively, who I would say is probably my second least favorite. No, I think maybe I like Snively more than the Sonic X guys, Deco and Boko. I think Snively's a little bit better than them. Deco and Boko are fine, they're just dull. But newer Sonic stuff doesn't have to, because now we have Orbot and Cubot.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love Orbot and Cubot.
I'll take your word for it.
I think, you haven't really experienced them, have you?
Mm-mm. I think I have Sonic Colors. No, I have one of them. I don't know.
You have Generations.
That's the one. I kept wanting to say Genesis. I was like, that's not the word.
No, they're not in, or they're in Generations, but only in a tiny cameo. They don't have a speaking role in it.
Okay.
But they're basically the modern era Scratch and Grounder. I don't think I like them quite as much as I like Scratch and Grounder, but they're close.
I'm gonna go out of my way to say Scratch and Grounder are the best.
But Orbot and Cubot are just in everything now. When we cover a newer Sonic show, you'll see them.
Sonic Boom?
Yeah, they're in Sonic Boom. They're actually the only characters who made it to Sonic Boom with 0 design changes.
Interesting.
In Sonic Boom, they are literally just identical to how they are in the games. Anyway, yeah, Robotnik is played by Jim Cummings, who, everybody should know who Jim Cummings is. He's Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, he's Pete.
He's Pete. We talked about him before because he was Psychro in Earthworm Jim.
Oh, yeah.
Snively is Charlie Adler, who was also in Earthworm Jim. He played Professor Monkey for a Head. His voice has also appeared in the show because he played both Cow and Chicken in Cow and Chicken. And we played the opening to Cow and Chicken a few weeks back. So
yeah, we did. I was just thinking about that song yesterday.
Yeah, Tack and the Power of Juju was when we were talking about that song, because it was written by the same guy who wrote the Tack and the Power of Juju song.
That's right.
But yeah, he was Professor Monkey for a Head in Earthworm Jim, and I mostly know him as Buster Bunny. Whenever I think of Charlie Adler, I think of Buster Bunny.
You always think of Buster Bunny.
He's so cool. It's blue and red. All my favorite characters are blue and red, and I think that's a coincidence, but it might not be.
I think it's a coincidence.
The Robotnik of this show is effectively scary. I think Jim Cummings knocks it out of the park trying to do a scary villain voice here.
How did the hedgehog get past all my security?
Mm-hmm.
But I would still prefer a goofier Eggman over a scary Robotnik.
Yeah, a goofy Eggman is my favorite kind of Eggman.
Yeah. The Eggman of the games and like the comics and stuff is way better because he can be scary. You know, he has his scary moments.
Right.
When you realize what a genius he is underneath the goofiness. And he does something real bad. But then, you know, he's also a comedy character.
Yeah, he's also building himself a theme park.
Yeah. He's doing these scary things in an effort to build himself a theme park.
Yeah, they're terrifying. Just don't think about it.
So Robotnik interrogates Cat a little bit, and then, or it sets it up like he's going to interrogate him, but then we see him immediately being marched off to prison.
Yeah. They make it
So-
sound like he's about to go through something real nasty, but then just kind of have better things to do.
I don't think Robotnik. I don't think this Robotnik is as competent as they want us to think he is. I think he was
Right.
like, I have ways of making you talk. You don't know the torture I'm going to do to you. And then the best thing he could think of was to put him in a jail cell.
Prepare the feathers. We'll tickle him at dawn.
That would be worse than what he actually does. The music, as Sonic is like trailing behind and watching them march Cat off, the music feels so out of place.
Yeah,
It has an almost Christmassy vibe to it.
Christmassy vibe.
Yes. I'm telling you.
I believe you. I guess I just didn't really pick up on it.
I did. It just felt really Christmassy. It's like this is the music for the scene where he watches his friend be marched to the prison he's going to spend the rest of his life in.
Hang in, cat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just not, it doesn't have that tension to it.
Might as well be the spooky, scary skeleton song.
Did you notice that Sonic turned into a buzzsaw again?
Of course I noticed. Buzzsaw Sonic is canon.
We haven't seen it in a while.
I was excited. I was not in the least bit surprised.
Yeah, he doesn't do much with it, but
He
it's there.
saws through a wall essentially.
Not really.
Well, like he like forces his way through it by
Through a door.
buzzsawing.
Doesn't he just like open a door with it?
Yeah, but it was a sealed door.
I thought he got through before it sealed.
I don't know. I was very worked up about the buzzsaw.
I understand.
He could just do whatever he wants. He could fly, he could fight, he can crow.
I hate you.
You don't, you're trapped here with me.
So Sonic finds Cat in his jail cell, and Cat tells him that Robotnik is following Sally to the swamp. I'm not sure how Cat knows this.
I don't know. Cat is one of our few competent characters. We just roll with it.
Yeah. So Sonic has to go to the swamp to save Sally first for some reason. I don't know why. I'm sure he could have buzzsawed him out of the jail cell and carried him
Yeah,
to
he just
safety
leaves him
first.
there. It was weird.
He just leaves him there. Like
Why go all that
He's
way?
made all the effort to get there, and then he just leaves it.
Yeah. Like when Sonic shows up later, I thought that he had released Cat off screen or something, but they're like, "No, we got to go back and get him." I'm like, "What,
Yeah.
what do you mean?"
Yeah. Meanwhile, in the swamp, Antoine is here.
He's here. He's being a coward.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And it's not confined to this episode either.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. That seems to be his defining personality trait.
Yeah. Sally wants to find her dad, so she asks Nicole if there are any structures nearby, and Nicole tells her about Ironlock Prison. And then Snively spots Sonic in the swamp on some cameras, and I guess... So I assumed that Robotnik was saying that they're gonna follow Sonic to find Sally.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not what happens.
Yeah, what exactly is the point of that?
I think Robotnik is just extremely incompetent.
He just fires missiles at him.
Yeah, like I assumed he was sending out the stealth, what do they call it? A stealth bot?
Yeah.
I assumed he was sending it out to covertly follow Sonic to Sally so that he could then get both of them. But instead it goes out, there's nothing stealthy about it. It's just a huge, loud jet that just follows right behind Sonic, so he immediately sees it. And it just starts shooting at him.
Yeah. So Sonic knows that Robotnik knows, and what is even the point of this?
Yeah. And Sonic just easily destroys the stealth bot with its own missile.
As is his wont.
Like, I don't know. I don't understand why he was immediately shooting at Sonic if he wanted Sally as well. But, like I said, I think this Robotnik is just extremely incompetent.
He's a little trigger happy.
I think he's the dumbest Robotnik of all versions of Robotnik across all media. I think this might be the dumbest one. And that's a big deal when we're including Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog Robotnik in there. But you know what? That guy gets results.
Yeah. That guy's incompetent for the laughs, for the bit.
The Adventures of Robotnik is mostly undone by the incompetence of his robots.
Mm-hmm.
Not of his own incompetence, which seems to be this Robotnik's problem.
You could argue that the robots are a result of his incompetence, but
You could.
I won't argue that.
We get some more details about Ironlock Prison.
Not many details.
Well, they're interesting details. Nicole says it was built in 1543 and abandoned 100 years ago. And I thought, wow, it's weird that they gave a year, right?
True.
I looked it up, and apparently in season 2, we're told that Robotnik took over in 3224.
So that prison was running for a long time.
Yeah, this prison was in service for thousands of years.
There aren't a lot of things that are in service for a decade even, let alone thousands of years.
No, it was they were using this prison for almost 2,000 years.
Jesus.
Sally and Antoine have a little boogie on a bridge.
Yeah, she's so scared to cross it, but it doesn't start shaking until she stands there scared and it just falls apart.
It goes on for a long time.
Like a lot of things in this episode.
But Rob Paulson gets to do some acting.
My princess, I'm thinking this is not safe.
Don't be such a worrywart, Antoine.
No! Are you alright, my princess?
I'm fine.
Princess! All run, princess! Run!
Good for him. But he still has to be Antoine.
This is the part of the episode where I became extremely distracted by Sally and Antoine both having human hair on top of their fur.
I mean, that's not a new phenomenon to furry anything.
No, but I don't think there's any other Sonic characters that have that.
Even in the show?
Oh, in the show, probably. But I mean, like, if you look at Sonic the Hedgehog characters.
Oh, yeah. Just another thing that makes them stand out as weird character designs.
Another thing that makes them feel like they don't belong in the universe with him. Because I'm thinking, like, there's a lot of characters who have their fur styled in a way that makes it look like human hair. You know, like
Right.
modern Amy kind of has that. It's like she has a pixie cut, but they didn't just clip a human pixie cut onto her hedgehog head. They've actually like stylized her spines so they look like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like Vanilla and Cream, their hair, or not their hair, their ears are like designed to kind of look like pigtails, but they don't just have human pigtails clipped onto their head.
I have to see what that would look like. I have to make it real.
Like it's the same with all of them, like Rouge, Blaze, Wave. None of them just have a human haircut haphazardly plopped onto their animal head. I don't know. It just one of the many things that bothers me about Sally's design.
Yeah.
Because there are later designs of Sally that do make her look more like a Sonic character, like designs done in like the late 2010s and stuff.
Right.
Where she looks more like a Sonic character, but they all still have this problem of a human hairstyle just kind of dropped onto her animal head.
Yeah.
And it never looks to me it always sets her apart as not looking like a Sonic character.
Like if they just make it the same color, I think it would eliminate a lot of that.
Maybe.
It would still look like she'd have a ridiculous head in general, but you know.
Yeah. Once they get inside the prison, Sally finds a piece of her dad's cloak on the floor.
Yeah, it's just been laying there, cast aside.
Yeah, we don't know how long. There's no indication really of how long it's been.
That's what made it seem like he had sent the message, like she received it as he sent it.
This is the thing, right? Because there's a lot in this episode that seems to imply that they like just missed him.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a Queen Alina from Sonic Underground situation.
I thought the same thing. I was like, I hope every episode ends with them barely missing her father.
No, but it's established in a later episode because eventually they do find him. That's what does set this apart from Queen Alina.
Mm-hmm.
Because in Sonic Underground they never do find their mom. They actually do find Sally's dad in season 2, I think. But it's also established that he's been like trapped in a alternate dimension the whole time for like 10 years.
So what are they following?
So he couldn't have been here. Exactly. Like it's impossible for this to have been him.
Yeah, I think that just makes it really obvious that there were different writers with different ideas.
Yeah, they were just kind of flying by the seat of their pants this season, I think. Season 2, I think there's more direction, but I don't think there was any like big plan for this season.
No.
When Sonic catches up with them in the prison, he immediately lightens the mood in a way that I really appreciated. Like I don't know, I just really liked the way when he gets there, he just starts interacting with them in this natural way, and I was like, that's nice. That's a good break from what we've had up until now.
Antoine, my father was in here.
This is good, yes?
What are you doing up there, Ant?
Sonic.
What's up, Sal?
I get where you're coming from, because dealing with this boring grimdark is not fun, but I just don't like the way he's written. I think he's just kind of annoying.
Oh yeah, no, it's not the way he's written, it's the way he's performed that I like.
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah, I like the way Jaleel White plays it. I don't think the writing is good.
It just kind of feels like your annoying cousin comes in to figure out what you're playing and won't leave you alone.
That was a voice of experience if ever I've heard one.
I don't know. I'm the youngest cousin, so maybe it's just me.
Maybe you are the Sonic.
Is that Donkey Kong? Can I play? Why not? I want a turn. Mom says you gotta give me a turn.
I've only had that experience with, like, kids from outside the family, like family friend kids.
Right.
It's like the son of your stepdad's friend. Those are the only kids I've had that that experience with.
Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of like neighbors, young neighborhood children.
Yeah, the kid from Home Alone who gets counted instead of Kevin.
I hate when he shows up to my house to bother me about video games.
Does it have 4-wheel drive? It's the only thing he says that I can remember. So they find this old computer, and they find a message from her dad on it, allegedly.
Or whatever that thing wearing her father's face is.
Yeah, he didn't. Do you remember what the message said?
No.
It wasn't significant.
It wasn't significant. It was largely nonsense.
Bean. Check subter file. Imposit. End of message.
Sally says that he didn't finish the message, but at least she knows he's alive. Except this can't have been him.
Like somewhere in the message it includes the word bean, which we have been told is significant to her, but
Yeah, because apparently that was his nickname for her. I guess we didn't say that earlier, but they find on the computer maps of all of Robotropolis, including secret underground tunnels they didn't know existed.
wow.
I was unclear as to whether they actually got those maps, because as Nicole is downloading them, a rock falls from the ceiling and smashes the computer.
Yeah. It was because first of all, she said that it was not a complete message. So I was like, well, did they get anything useful from that? She brings up the maps and then the rock falls. I'm like, what is even happening in this episode anymore?
I think they did get the maps, right? I don't know if they were.
Don't they
trying
refer to them later in the episode?
They do, but I don't know if they make it clear whether they got all of the maps or not, or if they just got some of the maps.
Okay, yeah. Just like the one that they were looking at.
Yeah, I don't think that's made clear. But anyway, the thing is, if they did get all of the maps, then I don't understand the significance of the computer being broken, because it doesn't matter, because they got all the data from it.
I guess just so they could never dig deeper into it. I don't know.
I thought they'd already dug as deep as they could.
I don't know.
No, all right, okay. It's just it was unclear. This is just me looking at it as a writer and thinking, why did they make that choice? You know, like why specifically break the computer when it's already fulfilled its use anyway?
I guess it kind of forces them to move forward, so they're not just sitting there playing cosmic ping pong.
You know what else forces them to move forward?
The robot?
The trapdoor that they fall into.
I forgot about the trapdoor. Why was there a trapdoor?
Yeah, so they fall into a trapdoor and land in some sewers, and there's a red light down the tunnel. And I was very confused here, because when I saw the red light at the end of the tunnel, I assumed it was a robot that was going to come after them. But Sonic runs down to check what it is, and it turns out that it's someone you never want to marry.
What is it? Someone you never want to marry.
That was the joke.
That was a really stupid way to describe it.
Yeah.
So it's some kind of like lizard monster
with glowing eyes.
But then it turns out it is a robot.
Like, why go through this trouble?
Yeah,
what is the point of disguising it?
I don't know what. Like, it's not like Robotnik disguises any of his other robots.
Right.
They're all just robots.
So, like, Sonic tears his way through it, and Sally asks him how he knew that it was a robot. And I was fully expecting Sonic to say that he didn't.
Yeah. What did he say? I don't even remember.
He said something like, the hedgehog always knows. Just something stupid to imply he's omnipotent.
So he didn't know, but he just wanted to pretend
know.
he did.
But it would have been funnier if he didn't.
And he uses a ring to do it.
Yeah, I don't understand this part. Like, why did they have to have it timed so perfectly if all he's gonna do is run fast at it?
It's really not explained well in this episode, but I guess they wanted to work rings into the story, and you know, rings are a big deal in the Sonic games, and almost none of the supplementary media ever uses them.
Right.
Like, most of the comics and TV shows just kind of don't mention rings and hope that you don't ask about them, I guess.
Hmm.
So I do appreciate this attempt to work them into the plot. And I think out of all of them, this is probably the best that they've ever been used. Because Sonic X tries to do something with rings that's similar to this, but it's never as well defined. And, you know, this isn't well defined here either, but they
No.
explain the rings more later on in the show.
Okay.
So basically, like, there's a certain spring out in the woods, and I think like once a day a ring emerges from it, and then it's some kind of huge power source that Robotnik would love to
Okay.
get his hands on.
You mean like those healthy purple berries?
Yes, basically.
Like those power pills in the power pill forest?
So they have a very limited supply of rings, and I guess Sonic can use a ring to get some kind of huge energy burst.
Okay.
So that's what happens here, although it's not explained to us at all. And you know, it's pretty cool in that it's like the one thing from the game that they've used in this show.
Right.
Sonic himself, the name of Dr. Robotnik, and the ring. Those are the three things in this show that come from the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise.
It's practically exactly the game.
So Sally pulls up one of the maps that they got, and she's leading them somewhere, but she won't tell them where. She's being coy about it.
It's
then-
back into the swamp.
It's that would make more sense, I feel like. She leads them back to Robotropolis, where Sally sabotages the stealth bots while Sonic goes back to look for Cat. But Cat's cell is empty now.
They spent a whole episode just to take us right back to the exact same spot we started in.
Yeah, they did. It's true. Now, this whole thing with Cat, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. He's gone. He never appears again. He's never mentioned again, as far as I remember.
He's dead?
For the rest of the show. Yeah, he's dead. That's
They
it.
killed him?
They killed him. And this, when I was a kid, when this first aired, everybody at school the next day was talking about this. About Cat, about them killing Cat off. And I think at the time it was a big deal because not a lot of kids shows would do things like this.
Right.
There were some, you know, we already had Batman the Animated Series by this point, so it's not like it was unheard of for a kids show to have like a darker ending like this. But it was rare. And at the time it felt like something really special and like awesome and cool. And I think it's a lot of why this show is so fondly remembered.
Because they killed people.
Because they killed this one guy. But the thing is, like, when I was a kid at the time, I thought that was a really, you know, I don't know, gutsy move, I guess, for a show. I wouldn't have thought of it that way. When I was a kid, I would have been like, whoa, this show's so grown up. But, like, now, I look at it now as an adult, and I'm like, is it really such a gutsy move to introduce a character in your first episode only to immediately kill them off and then never mention them again?
See, my hot take is that they just never remembered to use him again. Like, this isn't some big, bold statement about the depths Robotnik will go to get his way. They just literally forgot this nothing character and never used him again.
Like, there are episodes later on where they are rescuing people who've been turned into robots.
Mm-hmm.
So, if that is what happened to Cat, you know, they could have rescued him.
Right. But apparently Sonic's the only person that cares about him, so
and then
they
Sonic
just
forgets
let him
about
go.
him the next day. So. He wasn't, you know, I'm not gonna say this is a character that I would have wanted to come back. We didn't really learn anything about him. He's kind of boring. He's the only character in the show who doesn't wear a single piece of clothing.
I did notice that, yeah.
So
He's stark naked.
He feels out of place. Like, even more so than Sally, he feels out of place just because of his nakedness.
Yeah. Like, he's out of place in the opposite direction, where he's, like, a little bit too much animal.
Yes, he's too... Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Sally feels out of place because her body is too human, and Cat feels out of place because he's just 100%... Like, he's an Aristocats character
Yeah.
wandering around in this Sonic the Hedgehog show.
And also, his name is just Cat.
His name is just Cat. His name is a descriptor of him. Like, they didn't even bother naming him. Our characters here are Sonic, Sally, Antoine, and... Oh no, Cat. We'll come up with a name for that one later.
Like, that's what makes me think that they just didn't care about this character. They didn't name him, they didn't design him.
Yeah. His name is literally just his species.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it until you just said it, but you're absolutely right.
And this is our character, Red Shirt.
So anyway, Sonic has to run because he gets spotted hanging outside Cat's cell being sad. And Robotnik launches the stealth bots after him. But Sonic, who has, I guess, got one of Robotnik's spy drones in his backpack the whole time,
It was unclear.
Yeah, he uses the spy drone to film what the stealth bots do for Robotnik to watch. And they just fly straight up in the air and explode, which I guess is what Sally reprogrammed them to do.
Yeah.
And then Sonic cheerfully claims this victory for Cat, the dead guy. And that's the end.
That's the end.
And I don't, like, is it such a big victory? Because all they did was sabotage those stealth bots, which have now exploded, and Robotnik will just build more, presumably.
Right.
So I don't know what victory that was, really.
Well, we know Amy's father is out there somewhere.
Sally's
Amy.
father.
Ugh,
You're getting
I wish it
confused
was
with
Amy.
actual Sonic lore. I know, we haven't seen a
Whoops.
single show that has Amy in it yet. This is the 4th Sonic show we've covered, and we have not seen Amy, the main female character of the Sonic franchise.
Sonic just gets a million girlfriends, and we have to deal with that.
I think we've covered every Sonic show that doesn't have Amy in. So anything we look at from now on, any new Sonic show we look at from now on, will be guaranteed to have Amy.
They have to give us Amy, or else.
I like Amy.
I like Amy.
Give me Amy. She's fun. She's fun because she's flawed.
She's fun because she's unhinged, and I can relate to that.
I know. Sonic X is the best for that. Sonic X Amy is hilarious. I love her so much. She's locked in this constant struggle to... She wants to appear feminine and girly, but she has the worst temper of any character in the show. And, like, even Eggman is afraid of her.
That's a fun character.
Yeah, she's great. She's also one of the strongest characters, like physically strongest.
Yeah, she's lugging that hammer around.
Yeah, and she's smashing things with it. Anyway, right, we finished it. We watched the whole show and we talked about the whole show.
We beat it, finally.
So now we need to talk about our opinions of the show.
They're low.
You know, I didn't think it was good, but besides Antoine, if you ignore all the scenes with Antoine, I didn't think it was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, this is passable. I thought it was intriguing.
I can see that there's a lot of potential. Like, the world is there. It's not the best, but it's there, and it sounds like season 2 actually tries to work with it.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting premise for sure, but this episode just doesn't pull me in.
Not enough, no. It would, I think they could have done a better first episode.
Yeah.
This episode has a lot of wasted time.
Yes, it does.
There's also, like, we're not introduced to the majority of the freedom fighters here. And it's a shame because the ones we're not introduced to are the ones I like the most.
Mm-hmm.
We don't see Tails, for one thing, in this episode. But 2 major missing characters in this episode are Bunny and Rota, and they are two of my favorites of the new characters made for this show. Bunny is she's a rabbit and she is half robotic because she got
I'm
caught.
familiar with Bunny.
Okay. And Rota is the walrus guy who is basically he's the other half of Tails' usual role.
Mm-hmm.
Like Sally is the tech hacking one that Tails would normally do, and Rota is the mechanic. So he's the one building the
Gotcha.
machines and stuff. And he's pretty cool. Again, would prefer Tails to be the one doing it because I love the child genius angle that Tails has.
Yeah, so what is Tails doing this whole time?
He's just a kid. He's just a kid in this show.
Oh.
That's why he doesn't have a very big role because they don't really take him on missions because he's a kid. He's just
Not like
back
real
home.
Sonic, who throws him right in the face of danger.
Yeah. Yeah, Game Sonic is way more irresponsible than this one.
And yet still better.
Well, yeah, because Game Sonic is that guy who just believes in what everyone can do.
He believes in the heart of the cards.
Yeah. Anyway, looking at this show as, when I was a kid and we didn't have that much Sonic media to go on,
Mm-hmm.
I was more into it. Now, with 30 years of Sonic material at our backs, I look back at it and I'm like, okay, so a lot of it I'll forgive because it's stuff that didn't exist yet. Like, obviously, they couldn't have Amy in here because we didn't have Amy in the games yet. Or I think we just recently got Amy. I think this show came out around the same time we got Amy, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even the same month, now that I think about it.
Mm.
But when I think of Sonic, even back in this period, the first thing I think of when I think of Sonic, as far as like setting goes, is bright tropical scenery.
Yeah.
And this show takes place entirely in like dingy forests and swamps.
In the dark, in the misery.
And a Blade Runner city.
It's grimdark.
Although, to be fair, I guess Scrap Brain is kind of a Blade Runner city, isn't it?
Yeah, but that's only one level.
Yeah.
It's like the last level.
I just, I want... where's my tropical forest? Where's my
Eggman cut
tropical
it down to make robots.
It's just very...
Except for the one forest that he needs to get to.
Having the characters designed to fit better in with Sonic's design, I think would have been good as well.
Yeah.
I get that it's rough. Like, these character designers were designing what they know. Because these are very, 80s, 90s animal characters.
Mm-hmm.
And Sonic is a lot more heavily inspired by 1930s characters. He's got a very, early Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat look to him.
Mm-hmm.
So these artists probably weren't really used to drawing that kind of thing. And I don't know, maybe they even saw that as, below them,
Who even likes Mickey Mouse? That guy's not going to get anywhere in this business.
Well, they had redesigned Mickey Mouse at this point to try and get him away from the cool, iconic look that I prefer.
To make him more realistic as a terrifying humanoid mouse man.
Yeah. Mickey, outside of those recent Paul Rudish shorts, Mickey has never really gone back to these eyes like Sonic has. Because Mickey used to have eyes like that.
Yeah.
And then I think in the 40s, they tried to fix him by turning... now, modern Mickey, the area that used to be Mickey's pupils is now his entire eye.
Right.
And I don't think it looks as good, personally. But they did that for Goofy as well. And with Goofy, they recognized that it was a mistake. And they went back to Goofy having Sonic-like eyes. So you look at Goofy in, Kingdom Hearts and stuff. He's got Sonic eyes. But they had that brief period where he had the same eyes Mickey has now.
Weird.
And it just didn't look as good. Anyway, I forget what my point was.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
More Sonic-looking characters. More characters with giant conjoined eyes.
You just want more Sonic in the world.
More characters with round bodies and noodle limbs. And
that's true. That's a good aesthetic.
And don't tie their coloring to the colors of the real animal. More crazy colors.
You just want more Sonics in the world.
Sally actually, I think, was going to be pink at some point.
Yeah, that's the girl color.
Because there's a pilot episode where I think she's pink. And she was pink in the early comics.
If you're gonna have a girl to go alongside your boy, they need to be blue and pink.
Yeah,
No ifs, ands, or buts.
but
That's why you and I are blue and pink.
yeah, we got it the wrong way round.
Well, they didn't specify who had to be what. And if they did, I wasn't listening.
You're only blue because you're cold all the time.
Because there's no blood in my body.
This show, and I know I said this about Sonic Underground as well, but this show, to me, feels like it was an idea someone had already had that they just kind of airdropped Sonic into.
Yeah.
And there's some stuff I've seen which I feel like supports that even more. I'm going to show you some early concept art.
Do it.
Here is some early concept art of Princess Sally.
Yeah, that's just a human.
It's just a human. At some point, she was just a human. It gives me real Space Ace vibes.
Yeah.
I feel like they had been recently playing Space Ace when they drew these.
They're probably worried that a new IP wouldn't sell, so they just dropped Sonic in it.
Yeah, so, and that's not the only one either. Check out this early concept art and look at the character that it's labeled as. And you may notice a discrepancy here.
Oh! Yeah, that doesn't look anything like the man I know to be Dr. Robotnik.
So for people listening, if you know a lot about this show, you've maybe seen this already, but this is early concept art of Dr. Robotnik, where he is a green-skinned ogre wizard with horns.
That's how people usually describe me.
So that's what I think this started out as a show about a princess and her band of freedom fighters hiding in the woods in this world where this ogre magician man had taken over her kingdom and forced out her father. And now that I'm thinking about that, isn't Sally basically just the exact same character as the princess from Captain N?
Yeah, she is.
Didn't occur to me until this moment, but she's the same character. They just
Yeah, we
made her
get
an animal.
We get a lot of overlap in some of these video game cartoons.
By the same company, too. There was a lot. I think maybe that's why I find Sally quite dull, is because there were a lot of this character in this era of cartoons.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's exactly the same person as Princess Lana. Wasn't she? She's basically... No, she's not quite the same as Princess Daphne in the Dragon's
Princess
Lair
Daphne is a little bit more... useless is not quite the word, but useless.
She was a little bit more useless and a little bit more spunky.
I liked Princess Daphne because I
did
feel
as
like they
well.
actually gave her something to work with.
Yeah. Because she was like, she did need Dirk to help her, but she didn't believe that she did.
Yeah.
And I think that made her more interesting.
She had a lot of faith in herself.
Yeah, she did, and I liked that about her. She was out there girl bossing it. I want to say it was Dave Ballmer on the Sonic the Comic podcast who said that he thinks that this show was very Star Wars inspired.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the princess in the forest leading her band of rebels
Yeah,
against the Dark Empire, and I can see that.
I can see that.
That makes sense to me. I also feel like this is another thing that makes me feel like they didn't really look at the game at all, is the robot designs in this show. They are extremely generic.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame because Eggman robots,
They're the best.
they're incredible. They have such a distinct look. These like geometric shaped, googly-eyed animal robots.
They have so much personality.
Yeah, and they're all in like bright blues and pinks. I love Sonic enemies are some of my favorite enemies because they have both an extremely unified style and a really iconic look, and it's very difficult to have both of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that that's kind of dropped off in some of the newer games. I think they lost the unified style of them probably around like Sonic Adventure, I would say.
They look a bit more generic.
Yeah, but those early games, those Mega Drive Genesis games, the look, like you can see any one of those robots and just immediately go, oh, it's an Eggman robot. And I think in some of the newest games they have kind of gone back to some of those looks. I know we've got like classic Buzz Bombers and Motobugs back.
What
in the
about
newer
Crab Meat?
series. Yeah, Crab Meat.
Yeah.
I do think they oversimplified Crab Meat a little bit too much, though.
How dare you? I love Crab Meat.
No. I mean, the modern look of Crab Meat is a little bit
Okay.
oversimplified. Original Crab Meat
Phew.
looks fantastic. But my favorite will always be Buzz Bomber.
Yeah, I know how you feel about that thing.
Yeah, I think I probably
Freak.
had a little bit of a gush about Buzz Bomber when we looked at the OVA and they showed up.
Now I'm looking at pictures of Crab Meat.
You see the new one?
Yeah,
Do you see what I mean?
I do.
It doesn't quite look as cool as the original.
Yeah. I just love crabs.
I just googled crab meat and I did not get any Sonic results.
I was smart enough to at least put Sonic at the beginning.
Yeah, okay, there's two different modern crab meat designs I'm seeing, and one of them is too simplified and the other one is like too streamlined.
Mm-hmm.
But I really love the original. He's great.
He's so good. What about the legacy? You
Yeah.
hear me asking.
I do hear that, and you know, I've prepared a statement.
Go on, Mr. President.
Because this has a lot of legacy.
Yeah, it's a whole litany.
Not just from its, you know, the fan love for this show, which continues on, to the extent that there are currently fans making efforts to make their own season 3 for this show.
That's wild.
Yeah. I've seen some clips from it and they're really like pushing to try and make it of the same quality as the original.
That's cool, though.
And they're saying that they're like trying to work with Sega to actually make it with the proper legal authorization and everything. I don't know how that's working. If there's anybody out there who has more details of it and wants to share it, then please do so in the comments because I'd be interested.
At least it's not Nintendo, because we know that would never happen.
Yeah, Sega are a lot more supportive of fan projects than Nintendo are. But also, back at the time, this show served as the basis for Archie's Sonic the Hedgehog comic, which ran from 1993 to 2017.
That's a long time.
It's a long time. It's ended now, and you know, it went through various legal problems. Thanks to Ken Penders.
Who shall not be named.
Yeah, so the characters from this show actually survived within the larger Sonic franchise for a long, long time. Because this show was only on the air for 2 years, and then Sally and Antoine and Bunny and Rota, they survived for like another 20 or more.
Wild.
It is wild.
Do you remember this guy?
Yes. And speaking of which...
Uh-oh.
So, for people listening, Mel just sent me a picture of the first boss from Sonic Spinball for some reason. I don't know why
Don't try to figure out what I do when we record these podcasts. Just let me go on my adventures.
Well, Sonic Spinball is actually part of the legacy of this show.
Then it's because I read your mind. I'm ahead of the game.
There are a bunch of characters from this show who appear in Sonic Spinball. Did you know this?
I didn't. Who is in it?
Sally, Antoine. I forget who else. Hang on, let me look it up.
Where are they?
I'll tell you in a second. Let me look it up.
No, I need to know now.
Okay, no, not Antoine. I was wrong.
Thank God.
Sally, Bunny, and Rota all appear in Sonic Spinball in a minigame. There's like a minigame where you have to smack like capsules that have different animals stuck in them. And some of those animals are characters from this show.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I imagine most people, have not gotten much farther than level 2.
No, every time I play Sonic Spinball, I do the Toxic Caves and then I stop because I just really like the music in the Toxic Cave.
so good.
And then as soon as that music stops, I'm like, well, I don't want to play this anymore.
Yeah, it turns out I wasn't actually having fun. I was just enjoying the song.
Yeah, exactly. There was also a cancelled game based entirely on this show. We've seen some footage of it with Sonic and Sally. I guess Sonic and Sally were the playable characters. Let me look it up. I feel like I remember it looking kind of like Streets of Ragey in its gameplay. Okay, I found it. So it just didn't have a name, I guess. They were just calling it Sonic 16 because it was a new 16-bit Sonic game.
This intro, this
I know.
clunky Sonic art.
I know. But yeah, I don't think it ever made it very far into production. I think this was just kind of a proof of concept.
Yeah.
It was being made at STI, which does not mean
that's
what you
unfortunate.
think it does. Yeah.
And he throws the rings at him?
I love that Buzzsaw is mentioned with 3 exclamation marks.
Because, as I have mentioned before, that's all Sonic is.
You know what vibes I'm getting from this?
Hmm.
Comic Zone.
Yeah, that game is so hard.
I think this is the same studio, actually, but I'm pretty sure. STI stands for Sega Technical Institute, and they also made Sonic 2, basically. And they had, like, Sonic Team people there, but they're the ones who made Sonic 2. Yes, they did make Comic Zone. So I wonder if this game basically just turned into Comic Zone.
Maybe.
Anyway, Ben Hurst, the showrunner for Season 2, tried to get a movie made to conclude the series, but the efforts to get that movie made were torpedoed by a certain person.
Oh, is it who I think it is?
Tell me who you think it is.
Is it Kenneth and Penders himself?
It's Ken Penders.
Ruiner of all fun everywhere.
Yeah, he basically inserted himself into the process and pissed off the Sega representatives that were dealing with it to the point that they would no longer talk to anyone involved. And we know that because Ben Hurst said so himself. And then Ken Penders later tried to pitch his own movie that would have concluded this show, which his one was called Sonic Armageddon, and sounded stupid. It was about Sonic and his friends moving to space after Mobius explodes.
Moving to space.
I think that's basically what the comic that he's never going to finish at the moment is about.
Mm-hmm.
The comic that he's apparently been working on since like 2016 or something. Or even longer. I think he's been working on it for over a decade, actually, and he still hasn't produced a single page of work.
No, but we've seen sketches.
Oh, we've seen him. Anyway, that's the end.
We did it. We never have to look at this show again.
That's incorrect.
Damn it. I was hoping if I said it with enough conviction, you'd believe me.
We'll look at some of the better ones. I think there are some episodes you'll like, but not many.
I'm sure it's not all garbage.
Apologies to people who love this show, because there's stuff to like in this show. And, you know, it's just not my jam.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to Sonic shows, I would take both of the anime first. I really love both of the anime Sonics. And then probably Sonic Boom, and then Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog. It's too soon to judge Sonic Prime. I'm not going to place Sonic Prime on my ranking until it's finished. But this would definitely be the one I would want to watch the second least. But I would still rather watch this than Sonic Underground.
No.
No.
Sonic Underground is just like so bad you can't look away.
It's not. It's not bad enough. And there's so much of it. There's like 65 episodes of it.
That is a lot of Sonic Underground.
There's only 26 episodes of this one.
So you can choke it down in one afternoon if you need to.
Yeah. Although I couldn't. I tried really hard to marathon this show, but I reached fed up with Antoine, and I was fed up with Antoine, so I turned it off.
Well, that was what they were going for, I guess.
They really didn't want me to watch the show. Do you think that there were people working on this show who were like, right, some people are really going to love Antoine and we have to cater to those people?
No.
I would have, if it was me, if I was coming back to this show, like as the new head writer and we were going into season 2, I would have just left Antoine out. Just not addressed it. It's like the kids aren't going to remember Antoine. They didn't remember Cat.
Just say that he died on his way back to his home planet.
Just act like there was never an Antoine.
Yeah. Gaslight everyone.
Apparently, earlier in development, Antoine was going to be British, and I don't know if I would have preferred that or hated that more.
I don't think it would have made a noticeable difference.
No.
Mm-mm.
Well, I don't know, because I feel like no, you know what? The idea that he's a coward probably did come before the idea that he was French.
Yeah.
And and I wouldn't be surprised if the two things were related.
I wouldn't be either.
I bet they would like record in the voices and they were like, this guy's a coward. We should make him French.
Because stereotypes are always funny and accurate.
We're done. I don't have anything else to say about this, do you?
No, we're putting this one back in the cupboard and pushing it to the back, hoping that it rots and we can throw it away.
No more Sonic.
Ever.
It's over. Anyway, this show's 20 years old this year. Happy anniversary. Wait, is it 20? No, it's 30 years old this year.
Ew.
I know, it's 30. Can you believe it?
No.
Happy anniversary. Happy 30th anniversary, Sonic the Hedgehog, the ABC show.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. If you'd like to support our show, you can head to patreon.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub. I got it right on the first try this time.
I'm so proud of you.
Or you can go to coffee.com/superbreakfastfriendsclub. Don't go to Twitter. Quit your Twitter account. Delete it. If you want a Blue Sky account, hit me up. I have codes.
Yeah, sneak them on the DL.
Yeah. I've got like 4 codes right now that I'm sitting on.
Get away from Twitter. They don't like us and we don't like them.
No. So I'm not even going to tell you our Twitter account. I don't know if I'm even going to keep announcing the episodes there if our account is like marked.
If we've been shadow banned?
Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah. I mean, we could tell them what our Twitter is, but they're not going to be able to find it.
No, even when I searched specifically at SBreakfastFC, nothing came up.
That's so weird.
It said that there was no account with that name until I went into my settings and turned off hide sensitive content. Like, what do they think we are? What do they think we're peddling?
I don't think you've ever even posted a swear word on that.
I definitely haven't. We don't even say the swears in the show that much. We do sometimes, but...
I've been trying to cut back. It's bad for my health. It's raising my cholesterol.
Your cholesterol?
I don't know. You think I've been to a doctor?
Yes. Once. And I think they charged you $1,000 for it.
Many moons ago, and I'm still paying it off.
Still paying off the debt from your birth.
Weird that they started making the child pay that.
Bye. Could you hear me the entire time?
Yeah, you wouldn't shut up.